It's like when you suddenly sense that freedom for yourself, you want everybody to have that freedom. There's a joy within you that just explodes. I guarantee you it will change your business. We can see better performance. We can see teams working together better. We can see people taking a moment to pause and really understand the person that they're working with. And we see it in service because we use the right fit. And it's fun to watch people go home or be here at work and say, I'm not broken. This is how I'm wired.
Welcome to Powered by Instinct, a podcast for professionals who think about how your fundamental nature drives performance. In each episode, Kolbe experts will interview top performers, team leaders, consultants, and coaches to discuss identifying team member strengths, aligning those strengths with their jobs, and optimizing individual and team performance. If you're interested in getting more done more naturally, then let's jump in.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Powered by Instinct podcast. I'm hosting today. I'm Eric, and I'm at 5392. And I'm going to introduce you to a really cool organic foods company based in Oregon. And they have an amazing story about how using Kolbe has transformed their business, helped them grow. And to help tell that story, I have one of our certified consultants here, Karen. And Karen, this is the first time I've ever interviewed someone who has more quick start than me. So I'm a 5392. What's your MO?
I am a 3210-3.
Yes, I don't think you're the first 10 in quick start we've had on the show, but definitely the first one that I've interviewed. And between the two of us, I'm sure we'll come up with some cool stuff for the episode today. For those folks that haven't heard about your company, Azure Standard, tell us a little bit about the background. Tell us a little bit about the cool stuff that y'all do.
Absolutely, Eric, and thank you for having me. I'm really excited to actually be a part of this today. And so, Azure Standard is a family-owned, values-driven company. We've been around for over 35 years. And at our core, as you mentioned, we're an organic food distributor, and we're also a manufacturer. We have an organic farm. We do a lot of different things in that organic and natural space. But really what it comes down to in the core of who we are is we're way more than that. We're we're a community across the United States of people who just want to build healthy and abundant lives. We talk about that here often. So we serve thousands of buying clubs across the country, independent retailers, restaurants, manufacturers. And I think what really makes Azure special is just the people. Our customers aren't just customers, they're neighbors, they're families, churches, co-ops, businesses. And then our employees just aren't workers. They're builders of something bigger, right? We like to say, we're contributing to the health of the nation. Our owner says, the farmer is the protector of the health of the nation. And so we believe that. And he's a farmer, and that's what he's been doing his whole, generationally. And so from the beginning, we've just really believed in, as a company, in healthy and abundant living, not just through food, but through relationships and through trust and by doing business in a way that really honors people. And I would say that sense of community is something we fiercely protect, and we're really intentionally cultivating here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that sense of community goes into, I guess I would describe it as a unique distribution model that y'all have, right? With the drop point model. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're a traditional distributor. So when people see, distribution, they think of the trucks rolling down the road that deliver to the stores for retailers or restaurants and things like that. And we do that arm. But what really makes us unique is that buying club model you mentioned, Eric, which is we have thousands of just communities that are kind of like the food co-ops of the old days, where people would come together and they would buy from like a CSA in their community or things like that. So they're buying direct from the distributor. So they set up these food buying clubs that are hosted by a volunteer customer of Azure. So they're not a paid employee, which is really unique, right? And they just want to bring healthy food to their communities. Some communities have like food deserts where they don't have access to organic and non-GMO food products, or they just really want something that they feel like they can trust, that's better for them and their community. And they want to build relationships with like-minded people in their community. So they'll develop these community food buying clubs, and then everyone pulls together in their orders to meet the distributor minimum. Now they order individually, so they're not like some people do true like food buying splits where they'll like buy a 5-pound block of cheese and cut it up and everybody takes their portion home. But most, which is really fun, right? People get together and really share in that community aspect. But then we have, folks who they buy their own groceries for their own home, and their total of their orders then meet the distributor minimum so that we can deliver to their community. They pick it up off the back of the truck. They all work together as a community to help pull everybody's orders off the truck and load them into their cars. And so it's neighbor helping neighbor. And what really builds that community, and it's fun because I get stories that come across my desk, like the guy and the gal that met and now they're married. And so they say, we met at an Azure drop, or they'll send pictures of their Azure baby because they met at Azure drop and now they have kids. And so we get wedding invitations and things like that. So it's a lot of fun to see that food brings people together. And so people in the communities who may have never met before now get to meet, make new friends, or develop relationships because of this connection through the Azure Community Food Buying Club drop. So that's a unique part of what we do.
Yeah, that's amazing. I live here in Texas, and some friends and I, we went in on a half a cow, which, it's a similar kind of concept. You get people that there's a whole lot of food that you got to get, and you only have so much space. And so if you can divvy it up between your community, you get some healthier food, you're helping local farmers, all that fun stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what we do too. We support independent and family owned businesses. So not only do we distribute our own products, but we work with like your farmers in Texas who give them an outlet to be able to sell their products and to get connected throughout the communities, not just in their own communities, but throughout the entire United States. So it truly becomes neighbor serving neighbor, right?
Yeah, that's very cool. Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you come across Azure? What interested you in them? All that fun stuff.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's a big story. I'll try to keep it short. Well, my husband was in the Army for 22 years, and he is from Oregon, which is where we're at. I'm originally from the East Coast. So I met him, and toward the end of his career, he decided, when he retired from his career, he decided he wanted to move back to Oregon. We had kind of planned not to come back until the kids graduated school, but his mom passed away. It kind of prompted our move back here. So when we came here, I've been working in the financial world for different accounting firms. And so I continued to do that. But the company I was with was bought out by a really large company, and they ended up letting go of a bunch of divisions. And so we're in this little small town of 600 people, and I wasn't sure what was available to me, but I had met David, the CEO of Azure, and some of the Azure team when I was in my other career at that time for looking at, financial services for the business. And so called up and said, hey, I'm looking for a position. And it was really interesting how it worked out because I had been given 2 weeks severance, which is not very much, and met with David. And he said, we were getting ready to go out for a national search for someone to take over our customer experience side of the business. And we don't even have a title for it yet, but we think you're fit. So would you like to join the team? No job description, no title. And you can imagine with my 3-2-10-3, I was like, yeah, I'm on board. Let's go.
Like the perfect job. You can kind of make it up as you go.
That's right. He's like, we need to develop a training program. I'm like, okay, sounds good. I'll figure it out. So just jumped in and started figuring it out. I had to kind of stretch myself in the 3 and the 2 area, in the fact finder and the follow through, because it had to build some things. So it required me to do some research. But, with the 3, I didn't do a ton of research, just enough to be able to get it going and get the job going. So did that, and then worked with the service teams, the sales teams, and then over time also took over employee experience. So now I'm running employee experience and customer experience here, and I love it. That's where Kolbe comes in, right? And that on that employee experience side.
So when you were first kind of getting things off the ground and kind of creating your role as it goes, were there any big challenges that you were faced with, or was it kind of smooth sailing the whole way?
Well, there's never smooth sailing. I don't think in anything in life and business, any of it. So just like many organizations, lots of things, hiring mismatches, friction between teams, burnout or verge of burnout for different employees. A lot of people were in a lot of different hats. We were a much smaller company at the time. Leaders trying to fix people instead of designing roles around how people operate. We had a lot of talented and good-hearted people, but we were really exhausting them, and they were exhausting each other. So, that's what I stepped into, and it wasn't intentional. I think it's just the way things go in life and in business. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know until you know it. I had taken a Kolbe, so David had Kolbe here, so I took Kolbe when I first came in, but I had no idea what it meant. I just read it and was like, okay, made it what I wanted it to be, and you know, moved on.
So when you first started rolling it out, what did that look like?
It didn't really happen until about 2 years ago that we rolled it out, because the Kolbe journey for us really, like I said, started when David went to strategic coach. So in 2013, he went to strategic coach. Strategic coach introduced Kolbe to him. He came back, just started Kolbeing everybody. You know, he's also initiating quick start. And so it was just, this is a fun new thing. Let's start having everybody take a Kolbe. And so we take it, you look at it, and we had language like, you're high in this and you're low in that, which I know now isn't correct. And so, but that's how it circulated around here. And so everybody took it, you looked at it, you read it, you stuck it in a drawer. You just kind of checked the box. And so it became a checkbox instead of a tool. We thought we understood it because, you know, I'm initiating quick start, and I'm also a resistive foot finder, right? So I'm like, that's good. I made it up.
Close enough.
That's enough. It's good. So, but we completely misunderstood it. And so we made it what we thought it was. And as a company, you know, across the entire company, that's kind of how it was. Everybody took a Kolbe, put it in a drawer, was like, okay, nice to know. And then off we went. So in December 2023, I had taken over employee services for our employee experience side of things. And I started to just kind of pull my Kolbe back out. And I'm like, feels like there should be more to this than what it is on this paper. And so I said, why don't we go I think we need to get certified and really understand it on a deeper level. So our employee services administrator, I brought myself down to be certified in December of 2023. So just around this time, actually a couple of years ago, came back well, first of all, when I learned what it really was and what it meant for us in our striving instincts and how to apply it, I cried. And then I got angry a bit because I'm like, wait, you know, my whole life I've not been able actually to be truly who I am. So we came back and I sat down, I said, we're doing this wrong. And that was really a turning point for us. And that's where we really just made the decision that we were going to stop dabbling with Kolbe and really start embedding it into the DNA of Azure. So we've now taken it, we've embedded it into our hiring practices, our leadership development, our performance management, and really just in our culture itself. And I won't say that we've arrived, because we certainly have not arrived. It's a purposeful decision on a regular basis to be intentional about it and make sure that we're continuing to really use it at its fullest with our teams. And so we've gotten the A's to the point where we're like, okay, we're here with the A's. We've got A's for everyone. We're doing teams, come down and had team certification and performance certification now. And we're just really rolling at a deeper level on now making sure everyone starts getting their B's done, their Kolbe C's done. And just, we're going to take it as deeply into the organization, into the fabric of who we are as we can, because we really believe that was the missing piece. Like, we look at skilled and we look at personality and we look at values, and we were just missing that one piece that gets neglected, which is people striving instincts. And it's like, okay, now we'll have the whole of the person and not just 2/3 of the person. So yeah, that's where we are now.
Yeah, you know, that's a common story. A leader, a founder, something like that, they go off to some kind of training course, or they see one of us speak and they're like, I did this Kolbe thing and it's awesome. And now I want everybody at the company to do it. So then everybody does it and they're like, okay, now what do we do? I don't know. I thought it was cool. Everybody should do it. And so once you get to that point, that's a great starting point, right? Is kind of learning everybody's strengths. Then I think you need some internal champions to go like, all right, now let's actually use this stuff, not just get like some fun information about ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're even taking it deeper, Eric. You know, we have partners that we work with. So earlier this year, we brought in a contact center partner out of Mexico. And we're like, if you're going to be in Azure, part of Azure, and work with Azure, then Kolbe is going to be a part of that. So they bought in right away, really excited about it. So every new team member that they bring in, we give a Kolbe to. I go down quarterly and meet with the team for a few days. And so we spend about a half a day just with all of those team members who are taking it for the first time. We dive in and we explain exactly what Kolbe is and what it means to them, what it means in their work, what it means in their lives. It goes so much deeper than just at work. You know, one young man, when I was down with one of the first, and I've shared this before with your team, when I was down at one of the the very first trainings we did with this partner, at the end of, I was there for 3 weeks. At the end of 3 weeks, he came up to me and said, can I talk to you? And I was like, yeah, sure. What's going on? And he said, I just want you to know that my life has changed. The Kolbe had really been impactful for him. He had he had totally disassociated himself from his mom and his dad. He had gotten into a group of friends that were just taking him down a negative path. He was actually getting ready to quit working. The week that I came down there and started going over Kolbe with him, that very first week, he was going to quit. But what we did, we started diving into Kolbe the second day I was there. It stopped him. It just kind of refocused him. And he started thinking about his life. And so right before I left, he said, I'm going to be meeting with my parents on Saturday. So I was leaving on a Friday. He's like, tomorrow I'm going to be going and see my parents for the first time in years. I really believe that this is what's been not understanding who I am and, not being free to be myself. That's why we had this conflict. And so he was going to go reinstate the relationship with his parents. He completely broke free from those friends and left that entire group that he was hanging out with. And he now had a purpose and was seeing that Kolbe changed his mindset on the path, and he was going to create a new path for himself because of it. So that in and of itself and I've got lots of stories of that, of employees who come in and say, Kolbe, can I give this to my wife? Can my children, be a part of this? And I really want to understand how my family dynamics are, not just my work dynamics. And so we're even looking to do that, start giving Kolbe as a benefit to the spouses or significant others. And then also I'm finishing up my youth certification so that we can actually work with their families, with their children, if they want to do that with their children, but also with local school here as well, so that we can help invest in just helping everyone be truly who they are, right? Because as Kathy said, and success is having to be yourself. And I wear that sweatshirt around a lot and that t-shirt around a lot here because I want people to really resonate with that. That's what we really want for everyone.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And what you find when you have those conversations is it's not that the parent or the child, they don't love the other person. It's, the parent was giving the best advice that they could give and saying, hey, you need to do it like this. But if the parent and the child are complete opposites, it's not going to work. And a lot of times that's what then causes the friction that then creates the rift. If you can let each of those parties know, like, here's how y'all roll and here's how you can work together, that's when you can start to bring families together and they can all start to thrive. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's fun to watch people go home or be here at work and say, I'm not broken. This is how I'm wired. Right? Because sometimes you feel like you're broken. And so it doesn't just have to stay at work. If you go home, it changes marriages, it changes parenting, to your point, it changes friendships, so it's been really fun to watch. And it just drives me personally. It's become like this passion and this mission. Because when you have, I don't know, it's like when you suddenly sense that freedom for yourself, you want everybody to have that freedom. There's a joy within you that just explodes, and you're like, everybody needs to experience this. Everyone needs to have this freedom.
Yeah, and on the personal side, that makes just individuals kind of flourish and be themselves. You can kind of mend family relationships, help kids grow. From just like a practical business perspective, I mean, how engaged do you think that guy is now, right? Just simply by learning his results, you reconnected him with his family, he changed his life path. Like, that's changing someone's career trajectory, changing their life. And
Yeah.
right, that's going to be like a really solid employee for however long they work for you. So yes, you're helping them on the personal side, but there is a real tangible business outcome there as well.
Absolutely. And Eric, it's given us permission to stop asking people to be someone else as an organization, right? And so now when we're looking at our team and we realize, and I just recently had this conversation with a manager the other day, which was, looking at someone who's just really struggling in the role they're in. And the question became, are you asking them to be someone they're not? Are you asking them to strive in a way that they actually cannot pour out because it's not how they're wired? And so we start having those deeper conversations around that, and it becomes a much interventive support, right? So we're intervening before people burn out, before they're frustrated, before some conflict arises, or we have something that we have to deal with from a behavioral side or performance side of things, because we have them seeded wrong. where we have them working against their grain. And we know that everybody has to work outside of their strengths from time to time. You're not perfectly always. I have to do spreadsheets sometimes. Do I like it? Nah, not really. But, but I do have to do them, and I have to build workflows from time to time. So we all have to do some things, but the goal is always that we're working as much as possible within our strengths. And so we're really trying to assess that with every team member and make sure that's happening at every level we possibly can make it happen.
Yeah. And, even at Kolbe, right, we do this stuff. We created the assessment. I'm not a 5392 all day long. And Dee, who is on this call, she's not a 7725 all day long. We have to flex and adapt, but we can also give people tips and tricks for when you need to stretch or kind of work outside of your natural strengths. What are some ways to make it a little bit easier, less painful, all that fun stuff? So we talked about it kind of at the kickoff. You're a 10 in quick start. So tell us what that means to you, and then how it shows up in real life.
Well, sometimes I think people would wish I would put my 10 away. I've had some of our team who knows that your 10 is showing. I'm like, yeah, I know. It likes to show up a lot. So, but so does my 3. So do my 3s and 2s. So, I don't need a lot of information to make decisions. So that's my 3. My 10 really works for me well, because in the world of customer experience and employee experience, you're constantly pivoting, and I'm always having to that's my 3, but I always have to come up with new ideas, right? So I'm always looking at like, how do we have different improvements? How do we make the experience better? Lots of ideas around, how do we engage customers? How do we engage our employees? So I know my assistant, who is initiating fact finder follow through, I probably drive her crazy because I always have 1,000 ideas. And anytime I come to Kolbe or any kind of conference, I'm always coming back with 10 million more ideas of things that we can do. But I'm always asking, how can we serve better? How can we make it easier? How can we remove friction? I think my 10 really plays a big part. We can experiment with a lot of things. It also, though, can cause conflict, because I will sometimes want to change something that's working really well. And so the team's like, well, hey, that's actually working well. Why do you want to make the change? And so I've given them permission to ask me that. And that's one of the things I think Kolbe has really done, is helped me as a 10 and quick start go, I can, but should I? And I know that question gets asked a lot when we talk about that a lot when we're at Kolbe certifications and we're at the conference, and that phrase gets said a lot, that question gets said a lot, but it really is meaningful for me, because my 10 makes me want to just run and make changes and come up with new ideas, and I can change something that breaks something working well. So like I said, I've given my team permission just to say, okay, you want to make that change, but it's working well. Why do you want to make that change? Is it just because you want to make a change? And they respectfully ask me that. And so I can step back and go, am I going to blow the world up, or do I need to make this change, or do I just want to do something different, because just for the sake of doing something different? Because I do have a tendency to want to do that. This is boring. Let's do it a different way now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I always describe my 9 as there's always ideas kind of bouncing around in my head. Doesn't matter if I'm in the shower, driving down the freeway, having a conversation with someone. There's ideas bouncing around. Sometimes they're related, sometimes they're way out of left field, but they're always going. And so you got to figure out, like, all right, which ones should we actually implement, and which ones, let's put off to the side or throw in the trash can.
That's right. But it does allow me to experiment, to innovate, to test ideas quickly. We're an innovative company, so we're always coming up with new ways to serve customers. So it does allow me to go, okay, well, let's experiment with this, or let's see how customers react to this. Or innovation is really not optional here. So being in this role specifically allows me to really let that 10 come through, but it also allows my 3 in fact finder and my 2 in follow through as well, because I'm constantly adapting. There's always some troubleshooting thing that's coming up. There's, so I really get to use my entire Kolbe to its fullest. And I have to say that understanding my Kolbe has given me permission to lean into how I lead and not apologize for it. And it also has helped my team really understand why I operate the way I do. And it helps me understand why they operate the way they do. And then we can complement each other instead of being resistant to each other, which we had before, right? Now I've blown things up before. I've had one of our product information people real quick story. One of our product information team members in my early years, I was in Google Drive, which is where we keep all of our documents. And there was old information in there from like the inception of Google Drive and policies we don't use anymore. And they were just ancient. So I just started deleting them. I'm like, gone. We don't need that. We don't use it. Gone. And next thing I knew, she comes running in my office and she's like, what are you doing? She was in a completely different place. And I said, well, what do you mean? What am I doing? She's like, are you deleting things out of Google Drive? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. It's old. We don't need it anymore. And she's like, you're breaking spreadsheets and forms. She's initiating follow through fact finder, actually. She's like, you're breaking forms and things that I have. And I'm like, well, do we need this? And she's like, I need it. And so I said, okay, here's the deal. Thank goodness you can take it out of the trash. And so I took all the trash out of Google Drive. And I said, just do me a favor, make it disappear to where I never have to see it. Just poof it somewhere where you know where it is, where I don't have to look at it anymore. And but I will tell you, I'm so thankful, because if I go to her and I say, have we ever done X, or do we have any record of this type of a policy or thing that we did in the past, she can dig up anything to the inception of the company. So, and it's there. So I'm thankful for it, because even though I don't want to see it, I don't need it, it brings me anxiety to look at it sitting there because we don't use it. I'm thankful when 5 years from now I go to her, I know she's got something if I need it, because she has everything that's ever existed at the company.
That's awesome. So, we kind of talked about how your MO shows up at work, but we've touched on kind of the personal aspect and how it can impact your life at home. How does your MO show up at home with your husband and with your kids?
Well, my kids are all adults and out of the house now, but I'll tell you, I really wish I would have known about Kolbe long ago. And because it would have reduced a lot of stress and strife in my family, because I am the only MO of my type in my family, the 3-2-10-3. We've Kolbe'd everybody in my family, and all 3 of my kids work here at the same company, so they've had it as well. And they are all initiating fact finder follow-throughs, and they are 3s in the resistant quick start, and they are either a resistant implementer or they're a moderator or facilitator in the implementer. So there was a lot of justification, or trying to get me to justify every single action, every decision I make. Where's your proof? What's your context? Why are you so impulsive? So I'll tell you that it shows up in that way at home when I'm just going to go grab a hammer and I'm not going to measure it or like try to make sure something's even on the wall. And my husband's like, where are you going with that? You don't have the leveler, and you should have researched how to hang those curtains before you decided to go hang the curtains up. So it shows up in a lot of ways like that at home. But we have learned, since I came back 2 years ago from certification, and we sat down and looked together and did our A to A comparison, my husband and I, we are communicating so much better. It's really changed the dynamics in our marriage. It has reduced the friction, and the reality is sometimes people get into tiffs, and we're not seeing that as much, right? Because we understand each other. And so it's really made a dynamic change. And when I bought a new car, I handed him the manual and said, well, can you read the manual and just tell me what's in it so that I can know anything, any features or anything I need to know in here. And he takes the time to read the manual. He just gives me the bottom line of what I need to know. So like, this is how the windows work. And here, look at this cool little feature over here. And here's all the things that you need to know. So it's really changed the dynamics in our household, and even with our adult children now, because they'll come and say, hey, Mom, do you have any ideas around this, how to do this or that? And so I can just pour out a bazillion ideas to them of things that they wouldn't have thought of, or they don't ideate that way, right? They're more risk managers. So they're thinking about all the risks of things that, if they do it, and I'm able to help them pull triggers and make decisions a little bit faster than what they normally would. So we're all embracing it, and it's really created a much better relationship between all of us in our home. So yeah, it bleeds over.
Yeah, it's hard to separate a person. Like, here's the work person and here's the personal life person. If you try to do that, they end up bleeding over anyway. So you might as well kind of treat the whole person. It's just, here's me, here's how I roll. And if you can get comfortable just being you and using your own strengths and let everybody know around you, here's how I roll, and then you understand how they roll, your whole life just seems to work a lot better in that scenario.
Oh, absolutely. And so to that point, it's freed us up to be who we truly are, right? across the board in every dynamic or every part of our life. So, when my husband wants to spend 3 weeks researching something, I choose not to be frustrated over it, but I also choose to help him move forward if it's taking longer than I would like it to take. And so, but giving him the space to be able to do that, because I know that's what he needs. And so if I rush him, it's going to cause stress and tension, anxiety for him. And so it's just better to step back and go, I want to move faster. However, I know he needs to have some space to do this. So it really just opens up that door of better communication and a better understanding of each other, so that you can work better together, whether it's marriage, whether it's work, whatever it is in your life.
Yeah,
I wish everybody would walk around in life, like every person would just have a little bubble above their head with their Kolbe in the entire world. So every time you walk around, the store or the person who's checking you out or whatever it is, that you just look at somebody's Kolbe and say, okay, I know how to communicate with you and how to work with you. I know that that's obviously not, but I dream of that world.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done any real world research on this, but just like anecdotal, what I found is like 95% of the time when I find someone is frustrating me, it's because we do things in a wildly different way, right? And so if I just knew for sure, hey, here's why they're doing this, I would cut them way more slack, and I wouldn't be as frustrated. They wouldn't get as frustrated with me. So yeah, if we can figure out how to make that everybody has their bar chart above their head thing happen, I'm
Right.
in.
All right. Well, maybe someday, maybe AI will come up with a way to do that. I don't know.
All right, maybe we'll start selling Kolbe necklaces. I don't know. We'll come up with something.
Yeah, something like that. I wear one 100%.
So again, I know you have tons of ideas about ways to use Kolbe and implement it and all that fun stuff. If a company is in a similar situation to what you were a couple of years ago, where the founder, the CEO was introduced to Kolbe, they were like, "This thing is awesome." Everybody did it, but then they're like, "Now what?" What advice would you give those organizations?
Get someone to certification as quickly as you possibly can, whether it's somebody in I would say start with with HR. We call it employee services here, but wherever you will have that live, or have the CEO come, whoever it is, but get someone to certification and start really learning and understanding what Kolbe is and what it means to you and to your employees, and how and really start bringing it back and implementing it at a level where you can allow people to have the freedom to be who they are. I guarantee you it will change your business for the good, right? You'll be able to even prove it in the metrics. We can see what that looks like on our side. We can see better performance. We can see teams working together better. We can see people taking a moment to pause and really understand the person that they're working with. And we see it in service because we use the right fit. And I would say do the whole thing. Don't just only do the A. The A is a good starting point, right? If you're going to go all in, because the right fit program and really looking at, before you bring someone in, are they the right fit for the role that they're in? I will just say we've proved it. And I'll just give this, again, quick story. In our customer care side of our organization, that's where we started. With me being over that, I was able to take it in and just start kind of proving some of the Kolbe concept. And we did the right fit. We put a right fit range together for the role. And my VP of customer success, who is over that team, was interviewing some new candidates. And 2 of the candidates came back. They have great skills. They've been in the contact center space for a long time. Their values seem to really align with the company, but their Kolbe right fits came back. One was a D and one was an F. She's like, but I really like them. I think they're really a great fit everywhere else. And I said, well, and we hadn't proofed the right fit, and I hate to do that on people, like as you're bringing them in, but she's like, I just really want to hire them. I really think they're going to be a right fit. And I said, well, their Kolbes indicate otherwise, right? But if you're really that adamant, go ahead and hire them. And we'll get them in the role and get them started. They have all the background, they have all the skills, they have all the value alignment. And one of the candidates, the new hires, didn't even make it 2 weeks in training and out, burned out immediately. It just wasn't. That was the one that came back as an F, and the one that came back as a D did not even make it 90 days. And so it just was all we needed to know, like that we seeded them wrong. And it's unfortunate, when that happens, because you're so hopeful for people coming in, and everything else aligns so well, but we put them somewhere and it's a disservice, right? It's such a disservice to the person, it's a disservice to companies, it's a disservice, in this case, to the customers that they were working with, or to the trainer, because the trainer was frustrated with the person who was not a fit because they weren't working in the way that we needed them to work. And so it caused a lot of tension, and it caused problems with the other new hires that were in the training class as well. And so it really just caused a lot of friction that we could have avoided if we would have just looked at the Kolbe right fit result and said, no, it's not a fit. The Kolbe is true to itself. So it proved it. So I would say take it to the deepest level, use it within the company, and you will see that your organization will function at a much higher level. You have much more collaborative teams, and when people can understand each other, you get more done. There's things that just aren't holding them back because they're actually able to freely get to that result and what great looks like, because they're free to be themselves to get there. And they want to get there because they're able to work within their striving instincts. And so again, we're not perfect. I don't want to paint this picture that we're perfect, but I'm going to say run to it. If you do not have it implemented in your business, run to it. It'll change your business. It'll change your personal life. If I sound like I'm a Kolbe advertisement, I am. And they're not paying me to say this. I'm just telling you, go, because it will make a massive difference all around. Business, personal, all of it.
Perfect. All right. I think on that note, I'm going to kind of cut off the Kolbe talk, because that was amazing, and I'm going to have our team clip out, the last 2-ish minutes or so, because that was fantastic. So if folks want to learn more about Azure Standard and the cool stuff that y'all are doing, where can they learn more, find out about you, all that?
Absolutely. Well, AzureStandard.com, that's our website. And we have a lot of great just educational articles. We're all about educating people on better living, eating healthier, living healthier lifestyles, and then, just having abundance and sustainability in your life. So just check us out there, or you can call and talk to our service team as well. Our number's on our website, and everybody's happy to share any information you want to know about us.
Perfect. Well, Karen, I want to say thank you for joining us today. It was fantastic to hear your story again and go a little bit deeper and dig into it. For those of you, again, that want to learn more about the cool stuff that they're doing and, start to, eat a little bit healthier, have some better food in your life, check out AzureStandard.com. If you want to learn more about your conative strengths, Kolbe.com is always a great place to start. If you've taken your A, connect with us. If you have not taken your Kolbe A, that is step 1. So click that button in the upper right-hand corner on Kolbe.com, and you'll learn your conative strengths too. Till next time, thanks everybody.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Powered by Instinct. This show is brought to you by the Kolbe Corp, a company that helps leaders and organizations thrive using the only instinctive strengths assessment on the market. If you enjoyed this episode, then follow Powered by Instinct wherever you get your favorite podcasts, or join us online at Kolbe.com/podcast for all the latest episodes.